The condition is really crazy condition.
And that shouldn't give away the whole secret to professional windsurfing.
Matteo Iachino giving Antoine Elbow a run for his money. Here we go. Woo! What a finish.
The guy is kind of talking bullshit.
The team's just got to work a little harder.
Welcome to the Windsurfing Podcast, back again for episode 30. And this week we have an absolute ripper. The style master, but hasn't always had the results. On the PWA stage, we talk about his upbringing and how he got into windsurfing and actually how he became a pro. We talk about pushing the limits. We talk about a port tack tour and how it's not really obviously suited him over the years. We talk about that famous triple forward where it all went wrong. We talk about the future of the sport. We talk about PWA versus IWT. All that in this podcast. Who is it? Well, it is, of course, Boujimaa.
Bouj, thanks so much for coming on, man. You've been wanted. A lot of people asked for us to have you on the show, and I'm excited. I'm
honored to be on the show.
Let's start. Let's get, the most important thing out of the way. Why'd you cut your hair, man?
Because you grow your Rasta. I was like, now I have to get out of the club. Now the club is getting too big. No, I lost most of it, so I had no hair in the front and I had only hair in the back, and I was like, I'm struggling it didn't look good, so I was like,
you were pulling the old German. You know how they have it short in the front, the cab drivers in Germany, in East Germany, and the long in the back. You could pull that off.
But not dreadlocks.
Yeah, I was just thinking about.
If I became a truck driver.
I never thought about it until I was preparing to interview you, that I kind of have your haircut back in the day. Maybe it was when I saw you in the indoor with the dreads, the white dinner jacket, ready to go out to town. Like Boujmaa's gonna break some hearts tonight, man. So maybe that's stuck, and subconsciously
Yeah, I think Warsaw has been a good experience.
Yeah. least of it in the pool, probably.
Exactly. I had no fun in the pool. The fun was more on that floor.
The pool sucked. I don't know how, but sometimes like the ramp was bad and the fans were low. It didn't get any wind in the air. So I don't know. The jumps were kind of bad, and I don't know. But the stadium was amazing. Everything was cool. So.
Beautiful.
You did what?
I did not have fun in the pool or in the ramps. I really chose the wrong gear, and then I didn't think on how I would manage a loop out of a ramp into no air, and I think Thomas had the best strategy.
Yeah,
because he's been through it all enough times.
Yeah. Let's take it back all the way to your beginnings. I usually hate that question, and I hate to ask it, and I hate being asked it. How did it start? But your one is actually interesting, because you come from not a windsurfing background at all, very modest beginnings, and windsurfing is something. I watched like an edit with you that you described it. You saw it as an elitist kind of sport, and that you actually hated it in the beginning to watch it. So how was that?
So at the beginning, when I walked by the beach, or I went to the beach here in Essaouira, where all the European windsurfers were, I didn't think that windsurfing was a sport for Moroccans, or for at least the social class I was growing up in, So I never pictured myself doing it. I really was like, wow, this looks like amazing. But then I had the idea that I could do something similar, like just by getting a piece of polyester that would float and catch waves. And before the polyester, I started with a piece of wood, like the top of the table, that we spin it on a shore and skimboard it. That was fun. And then I went in the water trying to catch some waves with it and managed to do so. And then basically I did not believe in or I did not dream of trying windsurfing at all, so it just like, though these events took me to a nearby windsurf center that was mainly for most of the kids that were there they were from elite social class, like sons of doctors and sons of the people who run the center and kids of people with fairly enough money, if you know what I mean. So I came from a very modest family and never imagined or assumed that our family was rich enough to afford a mass track that is worth 50 euro, or at least back then, so it was very intimidating to get into that kind of like atmosphere and that kind of community. So at the beginning, after I tried to do catch waves with my board, I ended up renting a boogie board from that center that was worth $1 for like an hour and something like that. And then I got hooked because it was better than my piece of wood. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do this. Whenever I save enough money, like until I get $1, I go back there and I go in the waves. Until that manager of the center offered that I should be saving more money if I just became a member of the club for like $20 a year than renting the board. And I convinced my mother to give me the $20 after I had good results in school, and I managed to get into the center. And there they had all the boards, and they had windsurfing, and at that time windsurfing was only for adults, and the gear that was there, I was like 12 years old. The gear was like the smallest sail was 3.7, and it was like a very old Zeta sail with the roto mast, like one piece roto mast, and then very old boom, like super thick. The thing was way too heavy to uphaul it, way too heavy for my whatever kilos I was back then. I was super tiny.
And the booms were like super high, right? I'm like 10 years younger than you, and my experience was still with the booms like at 12 you couldn't go.
No. You had the boom up here. No, for sure. It was mission impossible to uphold a 3.7 Zeta sail and to hold the boom, because the boom was way high, and it made you hate the sport more. I mean, it did make me hate the sport more than anything else. I was like, no, that's not for me. I just want to go take the sail off, I take the board, and then I go surf the waves. And I used to use a uphold rope to use as a leash, and I was surfing every day like that for like a few months. And every time I tried windsurfing, I was like, no, until like luckily I had the opportunity to try smaller gear and managed to do it on smaller gear, and it paid off. Like I got hooked, and then I tried with bigger gear no matter what, because the smaller gear was from a different center that was run by like a private company that was mainly renting gear for tourists, and they gave us like an opportunity to take part in a clinic with back then Caroline Aslan, like she won the Aloha Classic back in '94 or somewhere around that times, in '94 or '96, and she came to Morocco and gave a clinic to the kids, and I was one of those kids, and I got hooked to windsurfing because I had the opportunity to try smaller gear or lighter gear that got me hooked, and sacrifice the pain that I was enduring trying with bigger gear.
Your story, Goito's story, Kiri, Tode's story, all you guys, you kind of prove that no matter what background you're from, no matter, with passion and with, I don't know, with enough stubbornness, you can actually make it in a sport that, is considered expensive, is considered elitist. Does it feel special? Because even coming from Poland, that is, it's not Morocco. You've seen, but it's not France either. It's not Germany either. It already feels, a little bit different. There's that maybe chip on the shoulder that you have to prove that, like you can actually make it from there. How was that for you? Did it give you like extra motivation?
To be honest, I was just like passionate about the sport, and the later, now when I'm adult and when I have been traveling through the world and had the opportunity to meet more people, I realized that most windsurfers, they all come from similar background, where like they come from humble. It's not like 2/3 of windsurfers are rich people. That's so wrong. That's why the sport is hanging on and staying alive because of passionate people who have limited amount of money, limited amount of a certain income, but they're super particular. They're super driven by the sport. They are so maniac, and they want to know everything about the sport, and they're persistent in learning and in learning about the sport. And but they're not rich, and they're all like super driven by their passion, which comes to me as a passionate windsurfer. Same kind of like, it's just different scale of humbleness that my family and the family I grew up in. But I might have done a little bit more work than they, because they had more access to second-hand market than I did. And but I also had the access to tourism that came to Morocco, and people with beautiful heart. I got given some gear at the beginning. I could not afford the gear. I was given a lot of gear, actually. I was given booms, masts, sails, and to be honest, I've paid like my first equipment that I paid for complete gear that cost me 80 euros, and 80 euros is a huge amount of money. My mother sold our TV for the board, to buy the board. And honestly, like I see similar stories in every single windsurfer, no matter like if it's an engineer. I mean, an engineer, a passionate windsurfer who is an engineer, he has other responsibilities where he have to pay for mortgages, for family, for whatever. And on top of that, he has to buy his board that is worth $2,000 and $3,000, and his sail and his boom and all that. That's still a lot of toys, money for a normal human being, no matter how rich or poor he is. Actually, there is the market is so wide enough to that is offering all kind of like gear for all kind of budget. And I don't differentiate myself from the rest of windsurfers, no matter how humble is my background is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point, actually, that it's considered a sport for the rich. But if you go to the beach, you don't see Bentleys and Ferraris and whatever, you see old vans and just people that live of the passion, and they'd much rather spend their salary on gear than a car or whatever. But from those beginnings, and obviously you got good really fast, but how, like, the step from being able to windsurf at your home beach is huge, but then that next step to even think of becoming a professional windsurfer is probably as big. So how did that come about?
Well, so the spot itself, like Essaouira and Moulay, is very popular, and there is a lot of tourists from Europe that comes every year in summertime. And basically I got to interact with a lot of professional windsurfers from Europe, from England, from France and all that. Mainly from France, that for me they were gods. All these French champions who were professional were given gear, and they were sponsored by local shops, and they come with brand new gear. To me, they looked like gods, like windsurf gods, and I was just like always looking up to them. The Musulmanis
brothers,
the Musulmani, when they first came to Morocco, they were professional, and I was like, and Xavier Huard, if you remember him, and
he was
Pierre
flying.
Frenchies, like they were like, like professional and champions.
You remember Xavier? He was doing this massive stalled forwards, was flying, was doing huge jumps, actually.
Yeah.
Like underrated, really underrated.
He's like, back then he was a French champion back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And to me, they were like idols. And I had the chance to talk to them, and they brought their sponsors for meetings. And like at the beginning, like Gastrack came, and Fanatic came, and Taboo came. All these guys who worked for these brands, Fabien, and then all these people who distributed some of these brands in France or Spain. They saw me, and they believed in, like, they thought I had the level to take part in the World Cup, while I did not believe it. I've actually never believed that I had the level to be part of the World Tour, because it's just like, it's a mindset that I the older I grow up, the more I seen it, because I believe in our society in Morocco. We have grown up with the way of thinking where the borders were really close to our eyes. We could see the borders, and we cannot push the borders away and see beyond the borders and push our limits easily, because we're raised that way, in a way that to believe in yourself, like confidence was given to the ones with more opportunities, with more. But and unfortunately, I had this problem where I didn't have enough faith and enough confidence in myself to persevere and persist enough in the sport, and to push and to progress. And I always waited for something different, like something that suit me. And I was just like, okay, you know what? You're having fun. Keep going just that way. Keep having fun. And the others are way better. You're never gonna get better than them, and there's no need to push your limit. Therefore, I figure out that I was very lacking a lot of confidence on myself, and I could not push my limit enough to be better in competition. And to go back to the question, which I don't know how I got away from me. I got carried away with my level. But yeah, anyways, I can't remember what was the main question. What were we
question
talking about?
the question was how that step to even
Hello?
become a pro, which you actually answered, that guys were coming and whatever, but you touched on something super interesting.
Getting out of Morocco into the big courts. Yeah. So yeah, people coming to Morocco and seeing me and then telling me that I am able to do the tour, and they helped me write emails to, at the beginning, Gaston and Taboo. Before that, I had help from local shapers in France and in the Canaries, like Y Factory and Sunset boards and Taboo. They all gave me boards because they saw potential in me. But then the brands who gave me gear and budget to travel was, at the beginning, was Fanatic gave me gear, and then Gastra gave me some sales. But then Starboard and Severn, they only and money to travel, who have given me an offer of like 5 boards, 5 sales, and 5,000 euros to travel to Maui. I was like, I could not believe it. I was a kid. I was 18. It was beyond the dream. Like I was looking at the email and then opening my eyes. I thought I understood it wrong. So I had to print it and bring it to my friend who translated everything for me, and he helped me write the emails. So back then I didn't have the English that I have now. I could not speak this way.
That's an amazing story, actually. But you touched earlier on something that is insane to hear, that you were brought up in a way of thinking that there is a limit and that it's very hard for you to break that limit. And on one hand, maybe in hindsight, you say those things about confidence and about the tour and, maybe not believing in yourself enough. On the other hand, so many limits that you broke on the water, just sailing at home, inventing moves, going massive, trying things that were, unseen before, or trying things that were even nobody could even imagine, So after you say that, it sounds even more amazing. Is it? So when did you actually start believing, that shit, I'm actually, like you drop an edit with a new move that nobody's ever seen, and like you at some point you have to see the reality, like, okay, I invented something totally new,
Well, in being innovative, it was one of my like, I'm not gonna claim that I am innovative, because if you like the way you compared me with Kiri and Goyito, these guys are way beyond innovative than I am. I mean, I was lucky, or I had the balls big enough to, or like I had the balls enough to try something I don't know, stupid, like in windsurfing, where like before Kaoli landed the push-up forward, I was trying to do, because I've heard of the push-up forward back in when Josh Stone, I think in the early 2000s, have tried something like similar to this, and it was echoing through the community of windsurfing, and I was like, I could see myself trying to push up forward, and I tried and I came close to land it before Kaoli, but not really, not quite. And I was in Morocco. We didn't have any cameras, and you could not film it that easily. And then like after that, I was like, there is more things to be done. And then I saw the black shot, which is like the crazy pit into forward, and that was like, okay, I was at the realm of my career where I was super fearless. I didn't care about the outcome of an injury, and I didn't care about injuring myself. And I was just like, I need to stand out among this windsurfing, wave sailing community, And I had to push my limit, and I wanted to do all I could to get a spot among all these good windsurfers, because they were all good, everybody, like in the top 16, 24, everybody was good. And to take a spot among all these people, like I could not prove it sailing port tack because I was terrible sailing port tack, and then I had to do somehow to try somehow and do it in starboard tack. My son is here.
Amazing.
So I no. Actually, come. I'm gonna move maybe to another room because he's here. Actually, I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
I don't know the light though. Is the light okay?
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
You have a nice, nice Moroccan accent behind you, you know, so it's cool with the.
Yeah, it's different. It's better than the white wall. Huh?
Yeah.
I still have my starboards there.
Yeah.
So yeah, innovation. So
you touched on something. Let me interrupt you here because the innovation we got, but you touched on something really good. You know, you finished multiple times top 20 on tour. You finished 7th in Tenerife. I mean, for a guy sailing backwards, it's not bad at all. Huh? Describe, like, was it like frustrating to you that the whole, you know, like if the tour was side onshore, but from the right side with the wind from the right, I mean, we could be speaking to a multiple world champion probably, you know?
Well, I don't know, with this kind of mindset and attitude, I don't know. But honestly, when I had the chance to compete inside onshore starboard tack, which was Guincho, it's one of the best results I've ever had. Like I did the semi-finals. Like I did 5th in Guincho, and I did 8th in Cabo Verde, the year where I had better sailing. And I think whenever I had the opportunity to sail in my element, I tried to do the best. But that's the mistake I've done. It was always waiting for the right conditions.
Yeah. And a little, just to add salt to the wound, not only is it port tack, Canaries, hard place to sail, but a lot of these events are during Ramadan, and you were actually, describe how it is. Because I think you're, from my recollection, at least for the last, let's say, 15 years or whatever, the only Muslim to be on tour and then practice, you know, the practices of Ramadan. So describe to us how it is, how it feels.
Well, at the beginning, I was, you know, sometimes like whenever I had like Ramadan at the same time as the contest. The first one was in Zilp. Luckily, we didn't have any wind mainly, and the month of Ramadan was moving backward till I got to Gran Canaria and Tenerife. And one year I was in Tenerife, really pumped up, and I was very stoked about my windsurfing and all. But then when sailing with empty stomach and like you lose focus, and I got injured like pretty bad. That's when I broke my ankle and I had the Liz Frank injury. And that year I decided to stop fasting during the events, and that was challenging because I like fasting in general, like regardless, like Ramadan or outside Ramadan, you know, because I feel like I'm, you know, hungry for more, you know, windsurfing sports, like you kind of push your body to its limits. But in a competition level, it's different. I think you need a little bit of energy or a certain amount of energy to stay focused and strong and on top of your game. Therefore, it's fact, it's science. Like if you look at it, it's not coherent to compete on an empty stomach because your mind doesn't work the same way, because it's something different. And therefore, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but to a certain level you can do sport to a certain level on empty stomach and without water and food. But then once you get over that level, you start exposing yourself to danger, and that's what happened to me. And I mean, like, you can fast and all, but don't do sports on fasting at a high level. But that's not an excuse.
I think all the processes that go on in your body, they slow down a lot when you fast, because there's less, whatever. I'm not a doctor either, so I'm not gonna get into it. But it sounds pretty hardcore, man. It sounds pretty hardcore. Around like 2007 to 2000, maybe 10, 11, like your edits, every time you put an edit, it's like Brasilio puts out an edit now it's on Instagram and it's 30 seconds. Your one was, probably like longer and not as frequent, but there was always new moves, more power, more height, black shot, cheese roll into back loop. You mentioned you almost landed the push loop forward first. Is there anything more like you've worked on? Because I heard some crazy shit that you worked on stuff that nobody filmed and never it's been seen publicly, but you had some really crazy stuff.
I honestly never landed all these moves, I'm gonna say now, but I tried and I managed to pull something close to a double goiter and 360 into forward, landed behind the wave. This is like, as far as I can remember, that's pretty much, beside the black shot and the push loop forward, the cheeser into back loop, I've never done anything crazy. I remember I used to do huge stall doubles before I tried the triple forward. And I remember one year I was doing it in Maui. I can't remember if it's the year where I injured myself, but then I did like a huge stall double, and I got cheered by Keith Tibur back then. And Keith does not easily, cheer anybody out there. Like you have to be impressive. But he came, like, I did it right in front of him. I remember it was like a cloudy, rainy, kind of like super windy day, and then I was like, pulled like a huge stall double. And back then it was very rare, it was the last one who've done it was he was doing it, like, I think Roberto Reteo, and then
Vidar Jensen
in Pozzo, and on Maui it was more rare before Brauzinho started doing all this shit. And I got cheered by, and I felt like really, really good about that encouragement from Keith. It was something big.
I always wonder, I asked Ricardo about this, but obviously he didn't really give me an answer because he doesn't think about those things. Like, you go up, you stall, you're, 12, 14 meters in the air, you're about to do a double. Do you feel, did you, at that time when you were doing these things on a daily basis, you felt comfortable doing those, or it's always kind of scary?
Every single one of them. Like, at the end, like, when you land, you're like, oh, this is easy, but then the takeoff, it stops your heart, or it does speed your heartbeats, or it stops them, I don't know, but something bounce in your heart, and it's the fear or adrenaline. But I've never felt comfortable doing stall double forward. That's why I didn't continue doing it.
You definitely look like, and the black shot looks like a hell of a freaking hard landing as well. Landing kind of clue first, and with that rotation to really spanking the ball. I don't know. It looks like something that, you hold on to dear life, and still the gear is gonna explode. I don't know.
You'd be surprised how, I think, to me, it looks the same with freestyle moves, where they spin against the wind and they pop, and then they start spinning, triple, kind of looking like, triple goiter, where they do like triple goiter. That is insane. Like, where they pop the board and they pop the gear and they start spinning in the air. I think it's the same as doing a black shot. At the end, black shot is just like no fear. It's like a no fear attitude. You choose your ramp, you choose your speed, you get up high enough, and if you have enough height and then enough control close to the sail, you can easily spin the whole rotation. And the landing is not that I don't know, I've never went beyond where I lost control, but each time I landed, I didn't feel like it was an ankle breaker, you know, like you would think.
Yeah. Speaking of high enough, April 2011, anybody that hasn't seen this video, it's already 10 years ago. So maybe there is people that are young enough or whatever that hasn't seen that video. The triple forward attempt that kind of looked like you did a double and then last second you decided that, you know, that there is room for a triple, and that third one wasn't necessarily, probably if you planned it, it was high enough to make it, you know. But you pass out in the water. It's one of the scariest. I watched it today, man. My heart still stops watching this, man. Like you floating unconscious. And what do you remember? What do you remember from that day?
Nothing. It's a black hole in my memory. But there is an interview of class when I read about it, and the way he describes it, because he's seen the whole scene, like he thought I was dead, and I was like, oh, holy shit, I'm coming back from the dead. That's what it is, you know? And basically, I don't remember the moment I took off. I don't remember what happened, how I hurt or I hit my head, what happened, how I passed out. There's no pain, no nothing in my memory. This is what is fascinating about the brain, how it erased this kind of like this event in my life. So it's a black hole, and it's kind of like a point of transition in my stunt life, if you know what I mean, you know. And I just kind of like slowed down doing stunts and all that. I don't remember anything about it, but from reading the comments of class about it, yeah, I get shivers.
Yeah. Is it the damage done? Obviously, so there was like a list of injuries you suffered, like brain swelling. I think you cut your face, broke your wrist. You know, like kind of a solid motocross crash. But is it fair to say that the mental injury is you know, from a near-death experience? I mean, I think that's as close to death that somebody's come windsurfing and actually made it out. Thanks to class, thanks to, you know, water safety in Hokipa and Victor. Yeah. But do you think it's fair to say that the mental kind of challenge is actually, you know, harder than the injuries itself, than the physical injuries?
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely. I think I lost quite a bit of my my mental in that injury, because scientifically it is proven that concussion causes mental weaknesses. By that I mean you get like easily, you get depression, you get anxiety, which I've never met before I had this accident. Well, I don't know. Apparently my friend John Sky and a few other friends I was hanging out after the event happened, they said that I was weird, acting weird, and I don't remember. I thought I was acting normal, but apparently you do like change. You have mood swings and all that because of that brain trauma, which is you're allowed to have two in your life. More than that, you can easily die. And I know a lot of I've read about professional athletes from American football and then ice hockey who have suffered concussions, who later in their life they had a hard time with their psychology. So basically, I luckily I only have like a minor kind of like concussion, but I did lose a lot of um, brain health, if you want to call it that way. Yeah, mental health. Yeah, but still I'm trying to make the most out of life and all of that and move on. And at the end, life has a beginning and end, and that was not my end. And there's a lot of beautiful things to come and a lot of ugly things to come. So I just got lucky to experience that one experience that is ugly in my life, and I'm ready for more, worst or similar, and life goes on.
Yeah, it got kind of the mood here got kind of dense, but I think, I don't know, from the outside it looks more like a warrior, coming out of the battle, rather than any kind of ugly like you described, so but and still, after that you came back, you competed, maybe we didn't see that crazy Boujimaa anymore, trying, like you say, stunts, because that's what how it has to be described. I mean, that triple is freaking massive, and all these black shots and all that stuff you've been doing is insane, but in your latest edit, I saw you land the cheese roll into back loop, which is not a easy move still. So
it's easy if you try it. It's just timing and technique.
Yeah, like this, everything is easy. But I saw also an interview after that, like right after you got out of hospital and you were rehabbing your hand, and you were like, yeah, I'm gonna keep pushing, I'm gonna try more triples, I'm gonna so was there like a mentality like, okay, I'm gonna come back to trying these crazy things, but then like the fear kind of kicks in, or how
Yeah.
is that,
Yeah, well, when after I really recovered and I healed, like the second year, I thought, because I needed perfect conditions to try it, and I didn't trust in case like I already had this kind of like scenario of same thing happened to me in Mule. Would I be saved? Would I get the same hospital care I got in Maui and all that? So I was not sure, and that doubt, I had that dot in me, so it didn't allow me to really go crazy and jumping. I knew that to be able to do a triple loop, and I had to have enough wind, I had to have safety, I had to have life jacket and helmet, and I had to have the right ramp. So all these kind of like elements did not line up in the years coming later. And the older I got, the less I've seen it happening, until I gave up on it, and I was like, what's the point? I don't need to prove anything to nobody, and I don't think it is. And I when I see the way Brauzinho and Coster and Ricardo do their doubles, I'm like, these guys are the ones who can do triples. Why don't they do it? Is it because they're smarter than I? They don't see the point of doing it today. Maybe in the future there will be like a crazy kid that will who will be like at his early 20s or mid 20s, or and he's crazy enough and strong enough and really powerful, who can spin 3 times without losing his like his balance in the air, and managing to land his triple loop. I don't know. It's just like my mindset shifted with time.
My theory about that move, and not even doing doubles, and so just looking like a cook from outside, is that it's just freaking hard, because on the first one you are still going up, the second one you're dropping, so the third one you're going to be dropping even more. And after Philip tried in Pozo in the final, not many people know this, but he was in the ambulance, like not really, knowing what's going on, like minor concussion, and he didn't hit his head against the mast like you did, or it was kind of a pretty clean effort, so if it takes that to land it, if it takes getting knocked out in the water, I think it's gonna be a while, like you say, if it's even possible. Who knows? Philip has like the perfect technique, and you had the perfect height, and it's it almost killed you. So it's even scary to think about it for for a normal person, But you got back on the horse, and hell of a horse. I mean, you couple years later, winning the AWT, the whole tour, what is now the IWT. Was that something you needed to, like to put your, if you couldn't do these stunts anymore, okay, let's just go competing in my element, mostly starboard tack events, and maybe more relaxed vibe and all that, was that something, is that like a highlight for you? I
Yeah.
mean, it's a hell of a comeback.
Well, it is what drove me every day for the rest of my career after my crash. I mean, like I was so driven by the spots and the windsurfing fun that we had traveling around the world, like going um, from the southwest, Pacific Southwest. I mean the Oregon coast to like Baja California, to Peru, to um, Maui, and all these places, Cabo Verde, and all these places. I was like, wow, this is the trips that I want. And Starboard and Severn back then, they were really supportive and they helped me travel. So I was like, okay, I'm getting paid to travel places where windsurfing is super fun, and why not? Why should I go to places where I'm not gonna have fun and I'm not getting paid to do that? So I just focused on the IWT and the AWT, and I was doing good. I mean, like I managed to do podiums in many events there, and I was just always happy, and I found the passion of competing. I've never been a competitor. That's one thing that you have to have when you're on a world tour, and doing the IWT, it helped me get that persona into my life, like getting the competitor kind of mindset, where I managed to learn how to tune my gear and managed to learn to know exactly what gear I needed for what kind of conditions. And I learned to have fun tuning my gear and learning how to compete, collecting points, without just like focusing in doing the best trick, where I fall most of the time. And plus it was starboard tack. So basically the AWT helped me to get back my windsurfing drive and my windsurfing passion and my competition mindset and all that. And I think if I wasn't getting old, I would have gone,
We lost you there for a second.
I don't know what happened.
You were just saying that you were getting old, which I was about to say, the fuck you talking about? Can you hear me?
No, I lost you for a while.
You good
Or
now?
Yeah, now I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so those two tours that you've been on, probably on the PWA for like 10 years or even more, and then on the AWT, IWT for quite a few years as well. How do you compare them? Because there's a lot of, chit chat like this is better. No, that is better. These have the better spots. Yeah, but these have the better riders and the better money. And this is more fun and this is more serious. And in the end, for the sport, it would probably be better if they work together, but somehow seems like there's a bit of this rivalry. You know what I mean?
I know the rivalry, whatever. It's a competition between two tours.
Yeah. So how do you compare them?
Well, I honestly cannot compare. It's mother and a father. I think like the sport has no. I mean, it needs to be like there need to be solidarity in a way where the tours they co-work into building a sport for non-windsurfing community to promote the sport, and IWT is fully promoting the sport, and the PWA is also fully promoting the sports both on a high level, although one has more prize money than the other one, where the prize money is at the end of the year, and the first one is on each event. Although like event organizers, they struggle to host PWA around the world just because of all like the budgets and all that to sort. I've organized like a PWA event, and I organized the IWT. I organized both events for a couple of years. It was it's always hard to get the money from sponsors, and for the same purpose of promoting the sport within a community who has never heard of the sport, and I think both events are good for the sports, both tours, and we need both to work together in a way where I wish I could see in every single venue the both tours gathering together and having like a contest like that is labeled PWA and IWT, and then like like the same way they do in Maui, you know what I mean? And that's, I think that's the future of both tours, is like to co-work and to cooperate, because the sport doesn't need rivalry, as you say, and doesn't need to we don't need to separate, because separatism just create war, and then we're gonna start stoning each other on just because we don't agree on the way we think we should run the world and we should run the tours, like I don't know, it's just like I am more of like like I would love to co-work with both tours more than trying to compete with each other and say like this is the best one and this is the real one, or this is the least good one and this is the fake one, like whatever is going on nowadays.
Yeah. And before we move on to actually a bit more serious, I mean, similar topic, but just a little intermission. Your best story from the tour, from all your years on tour, from what it would be like probably 15 years on tour, out of the water, not necessarily in the water, but out of the water. Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome to Zoom 2.0 made in Morocco. Like that's the internet we have. It sucks, man.
It's good. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Scotty is funny even
I feel ashamed
when
about
he's not
this
drunk. So I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
connection. Hello?
So, not to be super serious all the time, you've been on tour like 16 years. Your best story you can remember?
Like, honestly, I can't really think of any story in particular, but like if I just want to answer, like I would just remember like the couple nights, like just like when the forecast is so bad in Zilt events, and just like going out partying from the tent to the bistros and to the whatever bars and clubs we end up at, and then driving back home to the hotel room with Scott on the bicycles is quite a show, because he is like super drunk and he's so sure he can ride his bicycle, and then just like face planting on the concrete, just like it's too obvious and too ridiculous. Like he cannot walk his bicycle because he cannot walk straight, and therefore he has to ride it, and it takes quite a bit of time and few face plants that I am laughing at. Beside that, I can't recall any hilarious stories. If you wanna hear about anything.
Scott McCarter, what a legend. And the funny part is that when he was probably 30 and he looked already like 50, so so it looks even funnier, I guess. Yeah,
I told him like we had like I've never had any alcohol, and he always pushed me to try and like get a sip of beer or like a sip of wine or anything, like to get me drunk. So but I told him, like, if you make it to your 50s, I'll have my first beer ever with you. And unfortunately, he didn't make it to the 50s, so I'm never gonna be drinking alcohol. No, I'm just kidding. But like, I've never seen him since he made it to the 50s. So he's already 50 years young, and we still haven't had our first beer together. So
yeah, for a moment you got me fucking worried there. Like, what happened to Scotty? I still want to interview him.
Nah, he's still alive and rock and rolling down under.
Yeah, such a legend. Wow, so you never had any beer?
No, not yet. No.
When I talked to Sarah, she reminded me when I was there, like at 15, I think, in Silt, and she got me having a beer, and she gave me a lot of shit. So I guess we come from a little bit different backgrounds.
Different culture, different mindsets. It's just, I think the choice of not drinking alcohol is the hardest choice someone can make when he is living the life I lived, like traveling the world and then getting open bars quite often, with the windsurfing tour, and like having that privilege of being like on, whatever
VIP,
and stuff like that, and then getting offered whiskey bottles that worth $500 that I refused. I'm like, wow. You know what? Today I'm still not drinking, but like I'm like I would have taken it and just like offered it to somebody else. But like drinking is quite a tough choice to refuse.
Yeah, but I think everybody understands it. No, I mean, it's just a cultural / religion thing. No, that just comes from
beyond. It's
from
personality.
Yeah.
It's beyond religion and culture, because I know a lot of religious people who have drunk, and in our culture drinking is quite common, since it's my father drunk, my brother drinks, all my friends drinks, all my entourage, and everybody is drinking. I just choose not to.
Oh yeah.
And
Cool.
some people choose not to without having a link to any religion or faith or
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah. I barely drink, but that's because I drank so much from 16 to 19 that I have enough. You know, Poland is different. Yeah. But yeah. So you get all this alcohol and all these girls thrown at you, and you have to stay home. No, okay, let's not get into that. We still, you know, you're a married man now and kids and everything. So,
We're still liberal family.
okay, let's get back to some serious business. You're a big believer that windsurfing or water sports in general can be a lot more popular than they are in countries like Morocco, you know, or other countries around the world that are maybe either developing countries or just don't have the water sports culture, but have the water, have the conditions and stuff. How do you think that happens? What has to happen for that to transpire?
It's really hard to say the best strategy to democratize the sport in modern society, because in one hand I feel like people are getting lazier, and windsurfing takes a lot of effort and time and perseverance, and it consumes a lot of, you know, energy and effort and all of that. And therefore I think people have hard time to accept that they need to spend hours in cold water, in wind. You know, it's not even sunshine on bikinis. You have to wear a wetsuit and it's cold, and you're not going to learn in Hawaii. Hawaii is not the best spot to learn windsurfing. It's complicated to find the perfect spot to learn windsurfing. And people, when they go to Hawaii, they want to surf, and the places where there is enough wind are, you know, to learn. It's not. Anyways, I'm not gonna get carried away, but I feel like the best way is to try and first try and make it accessible for a mass of like youth. You know, it's from the youth that you will get hooked windsurfers hooked into the sport that will uh, uh, prosper, you know, like, and move and grow with the sport and be driven. If you start with a group of 100 kids that try windsurfing and few other sports beside windsurfing, maybe at the end of their let's say school holiday and windsurfing related camp, you will have 10. You know, if you have 10% of that group of people, you gain 10 windsurfers for the windsurfing community. And therefore I think the clubs and probably the industry should focus in cooperating with government administration and organization, you know, where they, you know, gather kids, get them to camps where they practice different sports, and one of them is windsurfing. And at least, like, if it's not 10%, you'll get 1% of this group of people who will be hooked into sport, especially if they live in a place where they have access to water and they have access to wind and conditions. And I believe there is with if they want to improve and buy their own gear, like, the second-hand market is full of used gear that is adaptable for their level, at least at the beginning, you know. And the more they move on, the more they have more access to more gear, although the industry doesn't want that. But I think it's the only way to grow our community. Otherwise we are stagnating, and the growth of windsurfers, if not going backward, I think it's maybe we gaining back some old windsurfers who went to kitesurfing and came back to windsurfing. but we also need newcomers who they don't have to be born in windsurfing family, and they just like get, like thrown into the sport and get hooked. Passion is out there for sure. We just need to somehow create a program where we involve government and group of youth that will eventually help rebuild this community.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Like you see it, you see it with your eyes of your imagination. So that's cool.
Maybe it's too wishful.
Yeah, your new video, your new edit is out. It's called Ocean of Tea. And I need to ask you, the music says, like, the lyrics or something says like "I'm back" or "I'm coming back" or something. Are we gonna see like
Was my choice.
what was your choice or was not your choice? Are we gonna see like
Was not.
was not your choice? So okay, so maybe the question is crap, but
I've never left.
But the question was, are we gonna see like Boujimaa 3.0, competing again and going on tour? And if not, like what's next for you? What's your plans? What's your thing right now?
I've never retired from competition. I'm still competing on the IWT, and I'm still willing to compete on the PWA, although I'm not training enough to compete at the level of the PWA on Gran Canaria, Pozo, and Tenerife. But if there was more events like Cabo Verde, Quincho included in the tour, I would be so happy to take part in it. And for the next year, as soon as we know if there is a calendar, I'll be joining the IWT for sure, touring America and then South America and wherever events we will have. So I've never left the tour, just so that's clear. I've never left professional windsurfing, and yeah, I'm still there, still like trying to improve and trying to push my limits. Although it has been very difficult this year with the circumstances, and still I have vision for other things that I want to achieve, and I will be working on those things until I'm not sure if because I already had a plan for this year, and because of what happened, I did not manage to do any of my plans and of my project. I postponed for a later date, which I don't know. It's mainly like challenging myself in kind of different conditions and see how I can compete against myself more than against other people, because yeah, I believe I have nothing to prove, and I have I've had enough of my mental disappointment.
Yeah. Wow, a bit grim to just there for the end. Look, we have this thing right at the end where we ask the same questions to everybody. So here's the set. What are your pet peeves?
My what?
Your pet peeves.
My pet peeves?
Yeah, it's like the thing that kind of annoys you. I don't know, like I always say, for me is the dentist, like I'm like, if I have to go, it's like yuck, like
I see.
something like this,
What would it be? To be honest, I cannot like just catch it like this on spot.
You're a positive guy, so maybe you don't have that much.
Not really. Probably, yeah. What scares me, like what I don't want to be involved on. What is it? Nothing in particular, to be honest. I would have I would have like worked on these things like just to dig in my memory to try and find what things like that really get me shivering, you know. But like that, I can't recall anything.
Yeah. 3 apps you can't live without.
Shit. Social media. 3 apps I cannot live without. Let me check my phone. Instagram and WhatsApp and Safari.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many times a day do you pee your wetsuit?
What?
How many
How
times
many
a day?
times I pee in my wetsuit?
Yeah.
Well, it depends how much water I've drunk, and usually if I'm sailing every day and or surfing, and I had enough water, I'll pee at least twice.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Oof. Ice cream, chocolate. You know, I'm very into food, so like eating nice food, like no matter what. Like I do have cures and months off sugar and all these things, but once I'm craving it and I go back to it, I'm eating pretty much everything junk. Like, oh yeah, every now and then, like whenever I travel outside my city and my country, I do eat a couple times McDonald's.
Yeah.
So it is good.
It's hard with the sugar though. Like it's hard to stop. You know. It's,
Yep.
I've tried also. Done like probably 2 months without, and then you go back and it's like an addiction. I think sugar. Okay, here's the big one. Your top 5 windsurfers of all time.
Oh, of all time, let's start from the past. I'd say I've always looked up to Francisco Goya from my younghood, and Levi Siver, and then moving forward, like I always also looked up to Thomas Traversa because since he was a kid, I had close interaction with him, and he was very impressive and inspiring since younghood, since a young age. And then the more I started seeing other windsurfers, the more I was like, I wish I was riding or surfing or jumping like Philip Coster and Brauzini, you know. So basically, this to just name 5, you know, and the rest, they are all impressive. And you know, like whenever I watch everybody else, I'm always inspired by their windsurfing because everybody is super good.
Yeah. The most underrated windsurfer of all time.
One windsurfer?
Yeah.
Whew. I think there is many underrated windsurfers on in the community, you know, like in the windsurfing community. Like a lot of them based on Maui, and then the young ones or the other ones from Europe who sail in every single kind of conditions, no matter what, you know, like who is underrated windsurfer that does impressive things. It's hard because there's so many, you know, like there's like I remember there was this guy from Belgium who was really impressive back in the late 90s, early 2000. He used to sail for Arrows and Fanatic, but he never, you know, went really far up. I think he was like against the system. I think he was sort of like a hippie, you know, but like an impressive windsurfer, at least in Portac. I remember I seen him sailing in Portac in Morocco back in maybe 99 or 2000. Maybe his name was, I can't remember. Anyways, he was a rider for Arrows and Fanatic and Quicksilver, and he was really stylish wave rider. Mainly, I think he lived or sailed a lot in South Africa, and he never gained any recognition in the windsurfing community. So probably the Belgium guys would know of him. He's an old schooler. So I don't know about now. It's hard to to name anyone, because I've seen a lot of good guys on Maui, Nat Gill, JC Brown, who never been on tour, like, but they sail really good. And who else? And the brave Europeans who sail in crazy cold and not in, for my personal enjoyment, not really enjoyable conditions,
Yeah.
And the girl, Stiffy White, wow, I think.
Ah, yeah, Steffi. Wow, yeah. She rips. So
She's
super stylish.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foil freestyle, yes or no?
Oof. Not for me. No. I think foil is fun as long as you can cruise around. But I think maybe if the equipment improve and gets lighter and stronger, which is kind of like contradiction, maybe foil freestyle will be the new thing. But doing things like Radiculu does, I don't see myself trying it. I've tried to jump on the foil, but like honestly, I'm not sure if it's made for jumping, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun to jump.
I bet.
Yeah. One spot you'd have to sail for the rest of your life, like every day.
Punta Preta. I guess it's pretty. Yeah.
Not a bad choice. Worst excess baggage bill or like worst check-in story.
5,000 Australian dollars from Perth to London, or to all the way to Marrakesh. I can't remember, but anyways, I was on a photo shoot with Starboard in Australia, and we shot some boards, and we had to shoot more boards. So we were going to Cabo Verde after that, and I had to take 3 extra boards beside my 2 other boards, and I ended up with 3 or 4 board bags. And the excess luggage policy that Qantas had was like by weight, which was like 60 Australian dollars, and I think I had 70 kilos, and I was around somewhere around no, not 5, almost 5,000 Australian dollars, which is 3,000 something in euro back then. And luckily Starboard had to pay for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, if it's a photo shoot, Starboard picks up the bill. So
yeah, otherwise I would have left the gear back there.
Yeah,
but,
or you don't fly, or you take another flight.
Yeah, exactly. It was the more expensive than my ticket. So luckily TSA was.
Yeah. Who was your worst competitor? Who is your worst competitor?
Well, in what way? Competing against him?
Yeah.
Oof.
You could never like that. I don't know.
I've never had any bad experience with anybody. But I know a lot of competitors who are really like scary. Josh Angulo is a scary competitor. You don't want to be winning against him, which I've never done. So I've never had any story with Josh. I think Josh had more stories with other people. That's I witnessed. But yeah, I don't have any personal bad experience with any competitor.
You get $1 million in cash and you need to spend it in 24 hours. What do you get?
$1 million in cash?
Yeah. Find it on the street.
Aren't you gonna be in trouble carrying that much money and then showing up to
who cares?
Yeah, like let's say you go to. I would build a center in Morocco, a windsurfing and multi-water sports center in Morocco, right away.
Sick. But you have one already. The Boujimaa X.
Yeah, I do have a center in Moulay, which is a very unpopular kind of spot. But anyways, my center is pretty average here. Windsurfing is a hard, tough business, and renting for windsurfers who just want to come and ride in waves, it's a small portion of the water sport holidays. But now I'm building a new one in another spot. So I'm gonna be trying to focus more in surfing and kite surfing while doing the windsurfing as well. But yeah, hopefully it grows and I can offer more options,
more diversity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, who would you like to hear on this show?
Who didn't I hear and I wanted to hear? Who was I already thought about somebody who was gonna be inspiring, like thinking back and recall, like who could it be? Did I go ahead of Victor Fernandez?
No, not yet. No.
Yeah.
So Victor.
Yeah.
Well, you think we can get some stories out of Victor? He generally keeps it to himself,
I think if you have the right question, he can tell you. He just like, he's very specific. He's like a clean, like just have a good questioner, and he will give you all the details. He's a fun bloke. Just you need to get his tongue out.
Yeah. Sometimes I was surprised, like sitting at dinner or something with some friends and whatever, and like. Yeah. Victor would be quiet, and then all of a sudden he would just say something, just like one sentence, and
yeah. No, Victor is an interesting character, and he has a lot to say.
Yeah,
you just need to get it out of him. Yeah.
It's funny though. You are also pretty mellow. Like Victor is mellow and he rips. You're mellow and you rip. There's something there like that? Like Brasilio is also quite mellow, I think, on the beach, and then on the water you guys go and you just fucking destroy is that something, is that a theme there?
I can't, I'm inside, so I cannot really see it, but yeah, Victor is impressively mellow. He is super quiet and very like tactic kind of person, more like into calculating everything, calculating even the damage, and he's way more mellow than anybody else. But being mellow is good. It helps you cool down from all the excitement you had in the water. But you do come out very excited, and then you cool out gradually, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that, so don't don't tell me, don't ask me.
No, it's good you're really full on. I mean, you need that, like Ricardo Campillo is.
Yeah. Wear the emotions on the sleeve, no? Wear your heart on the sleeve, I guess, type. Bouj, thank you so much, man. That was gold, most of it.
Sounds good.
So we appreciate you. And yeah, have fun building your new center. See you around somewhere on tour, hopefully.
All right. I hope so.
Yeah, maybe a bit nicer than Silt.
Well, who knows what's coming for the PWA? Let's see. I mean, I really wish we could see the comeback of the Punta Preta and the Guincho and Brazil. Who knows, Scotland and the Dream Tour, Who knows, maybe someday we will have a rich, fun, rich windsurfer that would fund the tour and then get us to Fiji all, Yeah. So, or Mauritius.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's keep dreaming.
Nice.
Okay.
Never stop dreaming.
Never stop. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much,
man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. Smash up the like button if you liked it. Let us know in the comments who else you want to see, or if you want to see someone again. Maybe you want another part 2 of someone we've already had. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Podcast every Wednesday. Matt Check's doing a great job, and we're looking forward to the next one already. Cheers for tuning in.